I wanted to just briefly talk a little bit about something that's been on my mind with the Power Rangers fandom specifically. For most of you that know, I typically have my iPad with my notes on here, but considering how much this has been stuck in my head for months, I'm kind of just whiffing it today because I feel like I know what I want to say with this.
Freewheeling.
So, for those that don't know, Power Rangers has gone through a lot of changes and shifting of powers in its nearly 30-year history. Saban was the original owners of the Power Rangers property, taking it over from the Japanese Super Sentai series and adapting it to have it fit American characters and concepts. Then eventually Disney bought it near the end of 2001 and shifted their production from Los Angeles, where it was usually shot, to New Zealand. And it has been there ever since. Been very good for the economy of New Zealand. It changed hands back to Saban afterwards when Disney had no clue what to do with the franchise. And since then, what is now probably 2 or 3, maybe even 4 years ago now, Hasbro, the toy company, bought the Power Rangers franchise outright. So I wanted to take a brief moment to just discuss the state of the franchise, if you will. There's a lot to look forward to on the horizon. There have been recent announcements that Hasbro acquired and is now introducing E1 Entertainment, which is going to be overseeing a shared Power Rangers universe to kind of go on par with what DC and Marvel have been doing with their characters and their properties. So we're expecting to have some kind of feature film that, if you hadn't seen the reports, is going to feature time travel with a slightly bigger team of Rangers going in and fighting whatever threat is going to be coming across the film. We're not exactly sure on all the details yet. So we're expecting a movie. We're expecting the current iteration of Power Rangers, what you see on Nickelodeon and what has kind of actually also moved to Netflix as well, in a way. We should be getting another season and a half of what is Power Rangers Dino Fury, the latest iteration that's based off the Japanese footage. But with there's a bunch of cool comic book line stories that are going to be coming out. Certainly things that'll maybe talk about like the Phantom Ranger a bit more with his mythos. And we currently have 2 comic book lines. One is called Mighty Morphin, where we follow the latest iteration of the Mighty Morphin team. And then you have a separate comic book just called Power Rangers, where you see Jason, Trini, and Zach kind of go off into space and kind of have their own adventures, even though everything's supposed to come together. So my overall point is we have an idea of the movies, the television series, and even comic book stuff. But there's still so much that we don't know with what Hasbro is trying to do with this Power Rangers property, what they spent $500 million on acquiring from Saban to bring it into their own family of properties like Transformers, My Little Pony, and G.I. Joe, so on and so forth. It's one thing to say that we have ideas of what we want to do, but considering that it's been at least 3 years since these guys have bought the franchise, there's still so much unknown as to what the hell we're going to be getting by the end of this. I didn't want to necessarily talk about what Hasbro was doing at the time with the Power Rangers franchise when we were doing this last year, because Power Rangers Beast Morphers, Hasbro's first true stake in the franchise, it hadn't finished its storytelling. And for those that don't know, mostly as long as Power Rangers has been on Nickelodeon, they typically split their storylines into 2 seasons across 2 years. And it didn't feel right to address what Hasbro has been up to without at least having one full, complete story in rotation under their belt. We've heard about the movie and the rumors, but we have no clue where it's at in its production stages. As of right now, there have been rumors swirling that Power Rangers will no longer be getting the Super Sentai footage from Japan to push their TV series. So there's a possibility that the show that we've known of the last almost 30 years could completely change. I'm all for it going to Netflix. I kind of pushed for that last year as well, and now it feels like we're slowly going that way since they had 3 episodes of the latest season premiere on Netflix earlier this summer. But there's still no announcement as to what the show is doing. And the biggest thing that feels confusing with Power Rangers as a whole, for almost the last 10 years, up until this past winter, Power Rangers, almost in its entirety, could be viewed on Netflix. Season 1 to what was season 27, I think. And now, with almost all of those seasons off of Netflix, and not having a new streaming home except for some episodes premiering slowly on their official YouTube channel, I have to ask, what is the plan? Where are you looking to go with this franchise that clearly you somewhat care about? It's a little frustrating as a Power Rangers fan to kind of wonder what's next. Marvel, we're spoiled at this point with, their phases and their announcements for upcoming TV shows and films, and even, what they announce as far as upcoming comic book storylines. But we just don't know what's next. And it's exhausting, especially when, this is my thing. This is my bread and butter. I love this stuff. And yet I don't know how to say to someone, this is what you have to look forward to. Because none of us have any idea what to look forward to. There's no streaming home currently, truly a home for people to engage in the fandom if they're looking to start from scratch. There's no major movie that people can go potentially see. And we don't even know if the show's current iteration is even going to stay the way that it is. And the biggest offense for me in all of this, and I understand we are still in a pandemic, just to be clear, so I am trying to be very forgiving of all of this. But it feels a little frustrating to have a show where the toy sales are so important to the overall success of a franchise, and yet there's almost no toys to be bought in the stores. Hasbro has been using their direct-to-consumer toy service, if you will, called Hasbro Pulse. That's where I've gotten a good majority, not all the stuff that's here on camera, but a lot of the figures for the series. We call them the Lightning Collection. They're supposed to be well done versions of the characters with head sculpts of the actors, and they're supposed to be well done, well articulated versions of the characters. I've been getting it through their website because if I don't get it through their website, I almost can never get it afterwards because the toy trucks that deliver to all these big box stores, they almost get no shipments of Power Ranger stuff. Now, again, being in a pandemic will certainly affect production on all these things, but I almost worry, will we only be able to get the latest Power Rangers toys online through Hasbro specifically? And if we don't act on it, we'll never get it. It's a little frustrating in that regard. The state of the franchise at the moment is this. We have no clue what the franchise is going to look like in 2 years. Once Dino Fury ends at the end of next year, because they already finished filming the episode, so we're still getting them, there's no guarantee of where everything's going to go next. I do believe that Hasbro is going to be doing more Power Rangers things. I mean, they spent the money on it, and clearly they do care about it to some degree. But it's a little exhausting when the one thing that you're most excited about, which, while it hasn't had the pedigree of Marvel and DC, it's just frustrating that it's not getting maybe the proper attention that some of us think it deserves when we've been told we have something to look forward to. But just, could you tell us a little bit more about the plan? We don't even know when the next set of Power Rangers episodes are going to premiere on Nickelodeon. And it's August, and they're supposed to finish season 1 between September and November, and we just have no clue. So that handling of the franchise has been a little weird. But I do still believe that it's in good hands. I do think that they are capable of seeing where the franchise can go in the way that maybe some of us here at the Dirty Table see the Power Rangers franchise going. To me, there's no reason why Power Rangers can't be as well told a story as, say, the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Certainly the comic books, especially the Shattered Grid storyline, was almost on par with what an Avengers Endgame storyline would be. And it's great. Just, borrow some of the comic book stuff and put it into your storytelling. I understand Power Rangers are notorious for being a cheap production, but you're clearly willing to invest more into at least your show based on previous iterations. Like almost all of the footage from Beast Morphers was American. It was kind of tough to tell what was Japanese after a while, and I'm usually very good about spotting that's footage from Japan. This was tough. So clearly you're willing to invest some money into your property. But can you just give us a little more? Just let us in on a little bit of the plan. I know Hasbro's going to have their convention, their online convention coming up within the next few weeks or so. Can you give us something, please? I just want my Power Rangers toys back on the shelves. I want to be able to tell my friends that Power Rangers really is cool, and it's here. You can check out this, this, and this. Marvel's got a plan. DC has somewhat of a plan. I just like Power Rangers to get on the same train. That's all. And you're a whole movie studio now with Lionsgate. You have the power to put your material out there, so just do, please.
Whoa! Welcome to the end of the Knights of the Dirty Table video that you just watched. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already done so, make sure you subscribe to our channel, like our video, share with all your friends, and catch our live stream every Friday live at 5, only on the Zenden Studios Twitch channel. I gotta go wander off into space. See ya! Whoa! Whoa!